we certainly are in those times, and we're certainly in a transitional period. Is it the end of everything? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Is it the beginning of everything? I don't know either.
Yeah.
I do know some things, having gone down far distance down the Enlightenment Trail. I know that some things don't matter. I also know that the indications we're getting out of the bots are suggestive that by 2008, centralization, the powers that be even, will find themselves also engaged in the upheaval, not to their benefit.
I'm inclined to agree, because I do not believe that the powers that be, the puppet masters, are going to win this war.
It doesn't work that way, correct?
No.
They're lost instantly setting on that path at this time. The cycles are against them. They're fighting the tail end of a cycle, trying to continue energy from the midpoint of it, and it just ain't going to happen.
Do they know it?
No, because they're linear minds. Those that are tuned into the cycles, there may be some in the invisible hand that are mystical enough to be back that far, but I can't fathom that mind, because in my personal experience, as you go down the Enlightenment Trail, the more you reach understanding, there's all these traps that lay in the way for you. Some of them are, one of them I fell into myself was compassion. I have compassion disease. And so it's stuck with me a number of years, and I do not see how a mind that's down the Enlightenment Trail could fail to at least encounter these traps and be changed by them, and not be changed by them. So how someone could go down this trail and also participate in that level of evil is beyond my understanding.
Are you saying that compassion does not fit in with evolvement?
Oh, no, it's a necessary part of it, but you cannot allow it to control everything and degrade you. It is trapped.
Okay, yeah, I follow that.
You know, at some point you have to be compassionate, but compassion also many times involves cruelty and karmic guilt and debt and so on.
Sure. Oh, yeah. And maybe not cruelty in the actual sense of the word, but what may seem to be cruelty.
No, I don't mince words. There is evil in every man, myself included. To deny it, to mask over it, gives it power that it should not have. Words have power as a vibrational tool, as an expression of a vibration, and so on. So I'm sorry I'm very strong on this. When I say cruelty, I mean just that. It is a cruel and terrible thing to have to participate in putting down your favorite pet because that pet has cancer. It is cruel on yourself, on your karmic burden. It relieves the pet of the suffering, but you always wonder if you've chosen the right moment, and so on. It is cruelty. It is torture on all parties. The vet suffers, the pet suffers, and you suffer.
Okay.
Tell me how that is not cruelty.
Well, we may
be necessary, I grant you.
We may be talking semantics more than anything else, because sometimes what seems to be cruel is also the natural a natural level of evolution where you cannot be caught up. See, years ago when I started to study a lot of the Eastern philosophies, and I'm going back over 40 years now, I could never understand how so many of your let's call them Eastern masters, the mystics and what have you, the yogis, and they could see events like in India, where their own people, are starving to death, are dying from disease, and you name it. And all they do is stand and look at it and don't do anything. And I could never understand that until years later, when I realized that what they were doing is they were so evolved that they could look at events happening around them and say, I understand where these people are. Now, I also understand what their next step will be.
And I should not interfere.
And I should not interfere, because if you do, then you're taking on their karma.
And you see my problem with the Webbot. And the
well, yes, I do. And I understand on the different levels that you're talking, too.
It's a difficult lesson to learn.
And
I could use other words than cruelty, but having experienced such nastiness myself, it was cruel on me at the time. But it is a very necessary thing to learn. And detachment, benign or otherwise, is also one of those things that is necessary to learn.
Yeah, detachment, I think that's very important. You're right. Which is what I was just talking about.
Correct.
With so many of the great masters, and rather than look at us and then jump in, which I have a tendency to do, when you see something wrong or people suffering, my tendency, right or wrong, is I feel as though if I have an ability to do something about it, then I have that responsibility to do something about it.
And that's an emotional response that many of us share, but at the same time may be inappropriate and frequently is. And at the same time, again, we have to look at the issue of participation. You know, many people have said that the greatest harm that anybody can do is to merely stand silent in the presence of evil.
Yeah.
And starvation could be looked at that way. It's more of a natural issue, those sorts of things. There are times when it's not an issue of choosing your battles, but understanding your place in the universe and your participation in other people's life cycles. And that's the real tough lesson. And that's also the lesson that I have to skirt constantly with the data I have here. It's why I don't do individuals.
Yeah, because, now where do you draw the line, Cliff, when you see something? And let's say, okay, and I'm thinking of an event right now that could be brought about. Let's say you look at some of these third world nations where millions of people are starving. And we have an ability to go in there, teach them how to grow their own food in such a way that nobody will ever have to starve again. Now, we could say...
Sir, let's stop right there and challenge our assumptions.
Okay.
Nobody's starving again. I'm sorry, that's not within the human history. And it's maybe not within the human future. Maybe humans as a species don't make it past 2012. There's a lot to suggest that we're on an extinction path. There's actual evidence to suggest that extinction is going on around us at a massive scale.
Oh, yeah. And
it's happening here, sweltering now in the midst of Earth changes that we have to acknowledge have thrown normal out of the ballpark.
And we've gone through this cycle hundreds and hundreds of times in the past.
Correct. And it is very true, as Buckminster Fuller points out in the very first part of Synergetics, that the universe favors humans. Let's not question that. Let's just accept it. We're here. We've survived a number of things. On this planet, we know of at least 5 civilizations going back millions of years.
Right.
Maybe 9 going back tens of millions of years. Under the circumstances, we've been through this before, and some level has always come back out. It may be that is our karmic burden. It may be that if you examine our genome, our genetic sequence, we're artificial creatures. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that there's actual markers in our DNA. Having worked in an allele lab and knowing a little bit about electrophoresis and seen the results myself, I have to agree.
Yeah, sure, I do too.
If that's the case and someone's been mucking about with us, well, I would say, okay, hey, that's an evil worth standing up to, even if we're in our last days. Now, trying to keep people from starving, that is a very worthwhile goal. Trying to alter societies to achieve that, that's really difficult. That's trying to force things from top down. That's imposition. That's something we'll probably be leaving behind as we go through this period of aggression and so on. There are a lot of words that could disassociate from us, I think.
Well, look at disease. I mean, look at the major diseases today are man-made.
Correct. And so net result, are we better off without smallpox? And instead we have AIDS? Huh?
Yeah, but created by mankind.
Yep.
For a specific reason, and that is to reduce population.
Yeah.
And
I'm of the opinion that personally I've always thought that population pressure would force us out in space in a legitimate way. I don't know if we have the time for that now.
Yeah, it's that critical, isn't it?
It certainly is, yeah. There's no question about that.
Boy, oh boy.
That's why, again, I don't want to pander to fear, but everybody should just be prepared for things, right? It's altered my viewpoint. I'm much more of a species. My individual survival is neither here nor there.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Cliff, let's go back and touch on this, and I forget how you refer to them, but I'll call them the evil ones, and maybe they're not evil. Maybe they're just there.
Our powers that be guys, the invisible hands?
Well, no, the woman who is the...
Exactly. I don't know what that reference is. That's the scary bit.
Well, we said before, they could be specific individuals,
or I could be wildly misinterpreting it. Correct.
I don't think so.
I'm hoping not. I don't want to be wrong.
Yeah. But if indeed there is this individual with the dreadlocks, who you foresaw in London, and all of a sudden look what's just happened over there, and now your information is saying that this individual, whether it is the personification in human form of somebody or it's a consciousness, I guess it could be either one, is now in the southeastern part of the United States.
Correct.
Do you...
We don't know that they're connected, just because we happen to get London and